Hi guys, coming on again. I definitely came across a very interesting, or came across a very interesting thought through some of my media consumption recently, and it was basically a girl explaining that she had this. I guess she had this insight that, well, at least it harkens back to Einstein's idea that past, present, and future are just illusions, and that time is illusory, and that it's fundamentally relative. And her idea is that everything we perceive as having happened in the past or that will happen in the future are just actually happening at the same time. And that though we perceive things as happening long in the past or conceive of future events that happen are going to happen long in the future, that she states that it's possible, or at least asks the question, what if it's all happening at the same time? And that the illusion and that past, present, and future are just illusions, right? And I think that's a very interesting thought. What she didn't know in stating that thought is that that's precisely the insight, or at least very similar to the insight, that inspired Einstein's thinking on relativity, which is that in reality, past, present, and future are illusions, and that they're not so separate as we imagine they are. They're not so different as we imagine they are. And that in some sense, it's not ridiculous for her to ask whether it's really just all happening at the same time. So, in this sense, this chick stated that thought's actually a theoretical physicist. She just doesn't know it. And has actually conceived of her own version of relativity, just doesn't know it. Which is this, right? So if we can imagine a little bit of a thought experiment, let's imagine that we are all floating out in space and that we perceive at a distance that there is a big flash of light that's instantaneous, just a flash of light. And we're all, in our UV resistant sunglasses, um, you know, watching this flash of light, and we see it flash and we watch it pass. Now let's imagine that we had the ability to play back that flash of light, and we could slow down the video, the playback video, or the video playback of that flash of light infinitely slowly. And as we slow down this video playback of this flash of light out in space, what do we see when we play it back at an infinitely slow speed? From our perspective, that was an instantaneous flash of light. Everything that happened within that flash, that entire flash, happened at one moment in time. And it elapsed at one instant in time from our perspective, very rapidly. But if we slow down that video playback of that flash of light, we notice that flash of light is actually composed of infinitely many smaller flashes of light, culminating into the one flash that we perceived at a distance, at our rate of time, and at our distance in space. We slow it down and we realize, okay, that one flash of light was actually composed of infinitely smaller flashes of light, all culminating into the one flash that we perceived to happen instantaneously at a distance. Now, in the same way, everything that happens from our perspective on Earth, the entire development of the Earth, the development of mankind, the development of life forms, the eventual extinction of life forms, the eventual extinction of mankind, the end of history, the end of Earth, the end of the solar system, all of that, right? We could see each discrete event in that pattern of events that we call one epoch of time, which is the epoch of the solar system. We could conceive each one of those events as a smaller flash of light building up to the grander instantaneous flash that we perceive to happen instantaneously, right? So, in this same way, if we view each discrete event in that flash of light as one of the smaller, infinitely many flashes that ultimately build up to the singular flash that we perceive, each one of those events happened from the perspective of some conscious entity. Each one of those events happened across a linear timeline of past, present, and future, right? So, you know, this happened, 2,000 years ago, and this happened 2,000, this happens 2,000 years in the future. From the perspective of things inside that flash of light, each thing is happening one after the other, past, present, future, past leading to present, and present leading to future. But for us, at a distance, we see that entire culmination of events that happen over that infinitely long span of time. We see that entire culmination of events as one instantaneous flash of light, with no distinctions between the smaller, infinitely many flashes that make up the greater flash of light. We just see it as an instantaneous flash of light. And then we slow it down and we realize, oh, okay, there are actually infinitely many smaller flashes building onto each other to produce the one flash of light that we perceive to happen instantaneously at a distance. In the same way, it could certainly be possible that every event we experience, right? I mean, it could be 20 years in the past, it could be 2,000 years in the future. In the same way, for beings at a specific distance, at a specific point in time and space, everything that happened for us, right, across a huge time scale, happens for those beings watching the flash of light that is the end of our universe, our solar system rather, happens for them instantaneously, all at once. So for us, it seems in that same way that everything is happening, every event proceeds across linearly at a specific rate from past into present, present into future. Though for the beings watching, floating out in space in their UV resistant sunglasses, who were watching the flash of light, everything that happened within that one flash happened at the same moment. But for those on the inside of the solar system, right, the inside of that flash, everything happens much slower. Events are distributed across past and present and future, and there's a specific rate at which they occur. So basically, hopefully this is coherent enough to get the point across. But what she realizes when she says that everything could be happening all at once is that it could certainly be happening all at once. It's simply that from our perspective, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens across the progression of time, from past into present into future. But for beings at a specific distance, watching that instantaneous flash of light at a specific speed, at a specific playback speed, at a specific point in space, it happened all of that happened within, all of it happened instantaneously. Thus, there's no difference between past, present, and future. For those on the outside, it's only a illusion of those on the inside. So in that way, it could all be happening all at once. It's just that from our perspective, everything that we experience could be building up to the death of the solar system, and it's just at a distance, one single flash of light. Whereas slowing down that flash of light at a specific playback speed, it's infinitely many small flashes building up into the one big flash. But when perceived at a specific rate, at a specific point in space, it only happens as one instantaneous flash. Everything happens all at once. Is your point? That everything could be happening at the same time. It's just that from our perspective, for those on the inside of that dying solar system, before the flash, everything is happening much more slowly. across past, present, and present into future. And so, in this way, for beings watching everything play out at a specific playback rate, at a specific distance, it all happens as one instantaneous flash. It all happens all at once. Whereas for those perhaps closer to the event, things happen much more slowly. And there are things that happen far in the past, and things will happen far in the future. But from another person's perspective, right, watching everything play out from a specific distance at a specific playback speed, it happens all at once. Put in another way, what if beings watching at a specific distance, right? Everything that happens in our solar system and the development of the solar system, they are, let's say that instead of being able to slow it down, they can speed it up. And they speed it up, they speed the playback of that whole solar system's life into infinite speed. And then it's just, they perceive all of the discrete linear events that occurred within the life and death of that solar system. They see it as one instantaneous flash. From their perspective at that speed, it all happened at the same time. So that's her point. And in some way, she does have her own conception of relativity, because the core idea of relativity is that time is relative and that there really is past, present, and future are stages of being and becoming that are only local to our perspective. They don't actually exist. If we were to play things back, you know, speed them up along, so if we were to play things back at a certain rate, it would all happen at once, right? Slowing them down, it would happen much slower, right? It's only to say that time is relative. And I think the quote from Albert Einstein is something like time, past, present, and future are just persistently stubborn illusions or something like that. So yeah, 18-year-old chick, theoretical physicist, she doesn't even know it, has her own idea about relativity. So yeah, that's at least how I look at relativity, and maybe couch her idea within a larger, more uh, within a larger, more uh, defendable uh, hypothetical framework, I guess. So in any case, hopefully that tells you something about relativity, and hopefully it's coherent enough to say something about that. Thank you for watching.